All right.
I don't know if we're introducing this or not.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for the sake of record, me and Swagkage are about to debate over his supposed debunk of my calc, or his response to my calc, whatever.
Before that, I wanted to talk about just the thing in general, because you and Seth talked about a lot of things in my video that I wanted to go over with you as well. Just certain things.
If you don't mind, we'll talk about that later, because I want to get to the nitty-gritty right away.
I guess that's fine. I just feel like that's what's going to take up the bulk of the video, but...
Sure. Okay, so I feel like there were a number of different things that you said during your response or whatever, and I think the heart of what you were trying to put forwards is that pixel calcs are bad. Is that correct?
I guess, yeah, sure.
Okay, so do you want to substantiate that or say anything about that before I continue?
Well, I think I said most of what I needed to in my video. Before I say anything specific, I want to know what you had a problem with.
Okay, so I suppose what I'm going to ask next is, how would you go about quantifying a visual feat, if not by scaling it through pixels?
I mean, I guess most of what I do is just based on generalities. I'm not usually very precise unless a statement is coupled with the feat. I'm
not asking you what you do. I'm asking how would you go about quantifying it?
I mean, I don't know. How would you do it?
Like, for instance, if I was to take the Ten Tails Cataclysm, right, probably one of the biggest feats in the series, how would you figure out how impressive that is without actually measuring it?
The thing I think we need to establish, first of all, is that most of my versus battles and the videos on my channel are contained within the series, so I don't feel the need to apply numbers or
sure, that is the case for a lot of inverse things, yeah.
Yeah, so it's all relativity based with me usually.
Right, and whatever scaling KCM Naruto has to the Raikage, the actual numerical difference between them almost doesn't matter. You would just say KCM Naruto is faster, but that's the whole point of me making a calculation, is to figure out how impressive it is. For instance, if I wanted to debate Naruto versus a character he never fought before in the series, or there's no scaling to, or against a character from another series, if I wanted to say Naruto versus Ichigo. So,
well, with most characters in the series, you can make cases for whether Naruto would win or lose without him being 73 times faster than the Raikage, so I don't...
Yes, but I was just saying that in the situation where that was true, right, then some sort of comparative calculation would be useful, and this is not too much the case with Naruto, right, because it's a pretty small verse, but with something like comics or Warhammer 40k, it's pretty important, so...
Yeah, sure. Well, the thing I think here, too, the thing that I was trying to prove. Well, I don't know if this was the main point, but it's a bit more difficult than I think you or Seth think it is to precisely pinpoint. Okay, so let's move on to the biggest thing that I was talking about.
Well, hold on. Before we move on, I just want to make it clear that pixel calcs are not necessarily invalid, right? Because we have to measure it somehow.
So that's fine.
Okay, good.
I'm not saying that they're, I guess, entirely invalid. I just don't take them as seriously as a lot of people do.
They are supplementary evidence, I would say.
Yeah, sure. So if you can make your point without them, then I feel like you should do that, and don't...
It's a form of quantification, right? So it's just a way to figure out, to put a number to something that otherwise does not have a number to it.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you wanted to say?
That's just the first point I wanted to get past, because if we didn't, then it would be a problem, right? Okay.
Yeah, sure. But, so the main thing that I think you and I are splitting hairs over is the wall, right? The fact that the Raikage hit the wall, and you can clearly see, and then Naruto
Sure.
It could have been at the same time.
Sure.
But it may have happened one after the other.
You're arguing about
he was at the wall, and Naruto was at the point that he arrived at, which changes things, because you said in your calc that the Raikage traveled the distance between his fist and Naruto's face, right?
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up. This is what I wanted to bring up next, actually, is the way that you treated what you called shot composition during that calculation. So I actually have the scan here. I'm sure you have it as well, but I'm just going to send it so it appears in the recording.
Yeah.
Okay, so here the way that you attempted to debunk or show that my calc was incorrect was by calculating the distance between Naruto and the wall, right?
Well, I wouldn't call it calculating. It was very...
measuring or whatever. It's a calc regardless, right?
It's an extremely rough estimate.
Right. However rough it was, you were just trying to demonstrate there was a distance. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I'll explain why the way you did it was wrong later, but that's pretty tangential, so... okay, the problem with that is that if you look in the top right-hand corner here, and people on the recording will see, anyone watching this, you'll see that Raikage is not in the panel, right?
Yeah.
So obviously Naruto has a distance to move already, right?
You can't quantify.
Okay, I'll get to that. Don't worry. And also, there's the unknown of after this, right? We see the Raikage has after Naruto has moved or whatever. We don't know the time difference, like how far Naruto actually went before the Raikage stopped, right? These are two unknowns that we have to figure out if we want to properly quantify it. Okay. So
yeah, I agree with you.
So
I was going to bring this up when we talked as well.
Yeah, and it is entirely irrelevant, and I understand why you don't know about this, although I did talk about it in the video. So what we now have to do is come up with some kind of argument to determine what actually happened here if we want to measure it. And the reason I thought of the idea to do this calc at all is because somebody else calculated the Minato feat, and they used a different method. They used comparing the reaction time of a normal human to a lightning bolt or something, and said that the Raikage was like lightning bolt speed, right? So in this case, on two different occasions, so both in that scan right there, Tsunade directly compares what happened to Minato and says just like the other fashion. That might actually be B.
Can I say something about this? Because this is something you mentioned in your video. So I said this when I spoke to Seth privately. I don't think him being compared to Minato matters at all, because he was compared to Minato when he hit Kakazu with the Rasen Shuriken, and Sasuke was compared to Madara when he dispelled Naruto's Nine Tails chakra, right?
Okay.
Comparisons are very, 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 like shaky in terms of what they mean for a character. And I know that you see Minato teleport, right, before this in the scene, so the comparison may seem a bit more concrete than those two, but I think the similarities there are more that, like, Naruto was the only person to dodge the Raikage's attack. They both have, like, golden... Okay,
you're kind of, like, preempting me and shotgunning me here. Can you let me finish what I was saying first?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
So, because obviously we have this unknown, right? And so we need to find some sort of preponderance of evidence, if you know what that means, to determine what actually happened, okay? So what I'm looking for is preponderance of evidence. I'm not looking for some hardcore, surefire thing. I'm saying what is most likely, okay? So the fact that Tsunade A compared... I think that's actually B speaking, not Tsunade, but... compares it directly to Minato, and B actually directly compares him to Minato in another situation as well, in his fight with Kisame. If you want me to send that, I can. Yeah. So what I did from there is I went to the anime, because the anime has a time frame, right? And I had a look at the Minato scene. I don't actually have the video up right now, but I'm sure you've seen it. And in that scene, it's pretty explicit that the Raikage barely moves in relation to Minato at all when he teleports. The only difference is Naruto obviously isn't teleporting; he's running. And I actually would have used the anime for this scene, but they just do the weird body flicker thing, where he like doesn't exist at all, so it's not calculable.
If we bring up the anime, there's a short time frame where Naruto isn't there and he doesn't reach the destination.
Yeah, but it's uncalculable because it's like he just doesn't exist.
So there's so many unknowns here, clearly, that it just feels really weird to me to say that he is absolutely 72 to 73.
That's not what I'm saying, by the way. I'm not saying he's absolutely 73 times. It's just putting a number to it. No calc is exact. It's an approximation.
Yeah, sure. Well, can we both agree that him being 72 to 73 times faster than the Raikage then is probably not the exact truth of the matter?
My position was never that was the exact truth, just that it is a number that is being put towards the feet, and that the calc stands as valid as still.
Sure.
Okay, so you agree with that particular argument?
I don't think that. Well, so the issue that I have with the calc is that the distance between him and the wall still exists, right? So you have to account for that, and the calc doesn't do that. It assumes that
the distance. Okay, again, using the same narrative argument I just gave you of the comparison to the Minato scene, which, like you said, comes directly before this. The distance should be incredibly minimal.
Well, again. I don't think that... Okay, so Tsunade is the one who's comparing him to...
Well, there's also a statement from Killer B that I'm using as well that I also posted.
But that's concerning Kisame, right?
That's concerning Naruto's speed.
Relative to... Like when he attacks...
No, Raikage right there is saying that Naruto moved so fast that he thought it was Minato's flying, Thunder God Jutsu.
That doesn't mean that the Raikage moved to the same distance, after, It
means that Naruto. It means that Naruto should be comparably faster than the Raikage, as was Minato.
I mean, sure, but Naruto's also the only.
But he's running, not teleporting.
You've interrupted me a lot, and you told.
Sorry, I'm just trying to make everything clear.
So. The other thing about the Minato comparison is that, again, Naruto was compared to Minato by Kakashi after he fought Kakuzu, and that sort of breaks apart the any amount of validity.
It doesn't. It definitely doesn't.
Well, I mean, that's like saying that because he was compared to Minato that he's as strong as Minato in that fight.
Okay, the difference is that Naruto is he's being directly compared to Minato's speed. It's not just Kakashi saying he's a prodigy like his father was, and B, again, I'm trying to find preponderance of evidence. I'm not saying this is an absolute or whatever. We have this unknown I'm trying to figure out, and so I have to use some argument in order to come up with it. Look at it this way, okay? On my side of the argument, I have all this evidence suggesting that the way I've done things is accurate. And on your side, or not your side, I'll say on the opposing side, don't be too, you and me or whatever. On the opposing side, there's nothing to actually suggest it happened differently.
Well, I mean,
okay. Look, another way to put this is
on you. It's like saying there's nothing.
Yes.
That a divine being doesn't exist or whatever, even though it's still perfectly reasonable to agree that it doesn't unless you're presented with evidence that that is the case. And so another thing is.
Well, hold on. Can I respond to that quickly?
I don't think. Well, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead.
The problem is that I've lost my words now. Goddamn, is that oh my god. Okay. Your skepticism or somebody else's skepticism is not an argument, right? So the difference between this and, say, you're saying I have burden of proof, but I have actually presented a level of proof, right?
Well, I am trying to say why I don't think the Minato thing is relevant.
I know, but
there are more similarities here that I think it's more reasonable to assume that B and Tsunade picked up on than Naruto's exact speed. I don't think that they're especially because
they don't have to know his exact speed.
Really, really long time since Minato dodged that attack from the Raikage. I think it's a bit outrageous to assume that both of them, especially Tsunade, who wasn't even there, know.
Well, Tsunade should know how fast Minato is, right?
Okay, but what I'm saying is that either of them know exactly how far A moved after after Minato dodged his attack. I think it's just more Naruto has a golden aura. He's the only other person who could move fast enough to avoid one of the Raikage's attacks. They were talking about Minato beforehand in this fight already, so Minato was fresh in their minds. It just makes a lot of sense, and I don't think it necessarily means that Naruto or that Naruto dodging the attack was exactly the same as Minato dodging the attack. And again, even the distance between Naruto and the wall clearly isn't minimal, right? There's obviously something there.
That's headcanon.
I mean, not really.
We already agreed that was an entire, a complete unknown.
No. My measurement isn't accurate.
The distance between Naruto and the wall is an unknown. We just don't know what it is. You can't say that it's minimal or not without any kind of other argument. But sorry, continue.
Well, so assuming that it is that it's minimal just because of the distance that the Raikage moved in the anime, also not in the manga. like after the Raikage tried to hit him and he dodged it. That feels pretty headcanon-y to me, especially because, like we said.
Hold on, you're coming, man. You're shotgunning me again because now you're moving on to a new point. Okay,
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the anime in a second because I mean I already explained why I didn't use the anime and why you can't use it. But
you brought up the anime for the Minato thing.
I did because there's nothing to prevent me from calculating that, right? Like I can actually see everything that's happening. It's not the same.
I just feel like if you bring up the anime for the Minato thing, it's fair to use.
I'm not saying the anime is irrelevant, okay? I'm saying in that specific scene, it's impossible to calculate because of the way they portrayed it, okay? Because Naruto literally just disappears. We have no idea how far he is by the time Raikage hits the wall. No, the Minato scene is fine because we see everything, right? Like, Minato just teleports and we see how far the Raikage is moving in the background. It's easy.
Okay.
But that's not the same with the Naruto scene where Naruto's just, like, literally gone, right? Like, I can't measure anything. He's just not even there, which is what they usually do with these, like, when they want to recreate the manga, right?
Sure.
The other thing that you were saying is that there is another interpretation for this idea that he's being compared to Minato. And I agree, there are other interpretations, but the thing that you're not understanding is that doesn't defeat my preponderance of evidence, right? Because the interpretation that I'm giving is valid. You can say there are other interpretations, but mine isn't wrong. Mine is an okay reading. And so there's literally, and no matter how bad the evidence is, even if you think it's weak, that's infinitely better than no evidence for any of the other explanations for what's going on here.
Well, but you also, I feel like it's impossible to say that my interpretation of what they're saying is wrong as well.
I know, I didn't say that it was wrong. I actually...
No, I know that, but what I'm saying... I'm moving
but that's not a
slightly larger point, which is that, so I don't think it's fair to say that just because I can't say that it isn't a valid interpretation, that I'm not allowed to discard it as evidence.
Well, you can't, because... Okay, I just explained why, but you don't actually have a counter argument, right? You're just saying that another interpretation exists. Well, but saying hold on. Okay. Saying that another interpretation exists because there's no, you can't determine whether your interpretation is actually better, right? It's just also valid. Just saying another interpretation exists isn't evidence for the other side. Whereas my argument, which is a valid interpretation, it exists on the other side, okay?
But your argument has to be your interpretation has to be correct for it to be evidence here.
It is valid, though.
It's valid, but I don't agree with it. So
that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because it doesn't matter whether you're personally skeptical about it. Again, what matters is whether it stands in a logical format, right? And again, due to a preponderance of evidence, there is evidence to suggest this is what happened. There's no evidence to suggest anything else happened unless you've got some.
So...
Like, what you're trying to do now is you're trying to shift burden of rejoinder to me. You are obligated to rejoin and actually debunk my argument. You can't just say there are other interpretations.
I'm about to ask you a question. So what exactly are you trying to... So what is every bit of evidence that you have provided so far, including the Minato thing? So recap the Minato thing and then everything else.
Well, that is the preponderance of evidence that I'm using to suggest. I'm making this narrative argument saying that Naruto is being compared to Minato in this scene, and that's a direction within the series suggesting it's similar to the Minato scene that we see literally pages before, which is an obvious analogy to what's going on there.
Okay. So you're saying because Naruto was compared to Minato, this means what precisely concerning his speed? It
means that the way that the scene, like the parts of the scene that we don't see between panels or whatever, like when Naruto's running to the wall or whatever, it is fair for me to fill those in with similar events that occur in the scene before, because the whole point is it's supposed to be a recreation of that scene with Naruto instead of Minato from a narrative standpoint.
Okay, I mean, I guess it's fair for you to do that, but if that's the only argument you've put forth and I don't agree with it, it just doesn't make any sense for me to be like, well, I guess you're right, and you've...
again, it doesn't matter if you agree with me, because that's... You personally being skeptical is not an argument, right? You have to actually debunk my proposition.
Well, but you just said that I can't. It's pretty...
Well, I'm not saying it's impossible to debunk. You could, you just haven't.
Okay, so...
I don't know any debunks, to be clear, but I'm not trying to say this is irrefutable or whatever.
So it just seems really loose to say that Naruto is as fast as Minato because two people, including one person who didn't see him.
Well, no. I would actually say he's.
Let me
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, actually, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I wouldn't say Naruto is as fast as Minato. I'd probably say he's faster. All I'm doing is saying that this scene is attempting to recreate a previous scene, and there's multiple clues for that put within the series, and so it's fair for me to treat this scene as an analogy of the previous scene with Minato.
Well, but okay, it being analogous to the previous scene with Minato does not mean that Naruto is on the same level as Minato.
I didn't say that it did. I'm strictly just using that to fill in the blanks. If that happens to mean he is faster, then that's great.
We agree that it is a narrative analogy, right? Like, it would be pretty ridiculous to say otherwise. What I'm saying is that I don't... Because I thought we were talking about the 73 times thing here, but I guess
We are.
Okay. So, explain to me how you would use this Minato thing specifically to support the idea that Naruto is... specifically or in the range of being 72 to 73 times faster.
Okay, maybe I didn't communicate it properly. I was a bit unclear.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the distance Naruto is from the distance that the Raikage moves after Naruto is moving is unclear. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
I think I get what you're about to say. And the distance that the Raikage moved after Minato dodged his attack is clear. So
yes.
Therefore, it seems like a pretty. I think that is a pretty bold claim to make, and you're using a bit of a shaky foundation to support it. Because, like I said, B was there when he saw it, but
this is skepticism
he's not
again.
The one who compared Naruto to Minato when this happened. Tsunade is, and she wasn't there when it happened. B compared Naruto to Minato when the Kisame thing happened, right? That's what you said?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, but...
I don't think that's Tsunade actually saying that, by the way. I said that multiple times. But
it looks like it to me because the text is in the panel with her, but
there isn't. It isn't actually coming off her, so I don't. It's unclear who's saying it, but
yeah, we could bring up the anime if you want because I feel like that's not super outlandish.
What actually does happen in the anime? Let's have a look.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters whether Tsunade said it because I'm making a narrative argument. I'm not trying to make an in-character knowledge argument.
What I'm saying is that it seems a bit ridiculous to claim that because one of them is comparing him to Minato, that A moved the same distance
I'm not saying it's the exact same. I'm saying that it's fair for me to use that as a metric to determine it.
Well, like, what...
Hold on.
So... What sort of wiggle room are we talking about here? Like centimeters, meters?
It's just an unknown, right? Like you would just say that it varies. Okay, like for instance, this is true of science as well, right?
Yeah, I know.
And everything has a sigma value, and I'm just saying that no calculation is precise, right? Every calculation has axioms or assumptions that they have to make, and
all I was trying to say in my video was that because of the amount of unknowns, and maybe I didn't make the point as clear as I could have in the video. I was sort of just fucking around in it, but because of the amount of unknowns or the amount of ways you could interpret the information, it's just really hard to put a number, to put a precise number, or to say that Naruto is without a doubt, this much faster than the Raikage, or outrageously faster than the Raikage, based on this one scene where a whole bunch of things are unclear. When we've spent a whole lot of time going back and forth about about the importance of the comparisons to Minato, and the comparisons to Minato are the only metric we have to measure the distance that the Raikage moved, and it all of it just feels really loose, if you get what I mean.
Okay, I know, but I don't mean to be rude, but I don't care how you feel about it, because that's not an argument. Okay, I get what you're saying. I get that you're skeptical, but you being skeptical doesn't make you more right or make me more wrong. Okay, and I'm in the same position I was earlier.
You've proven your point yet.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't. You just saying you don't think I've proven my point isn't an argument.
I'm not. Okay, so maybe you think that I'm trying to say that you're wrong without a doubt here, and that's not the case.
Well, I'm just trying to determine that my calc is valid and correct, and I don't care whether you personally have some opinion or skepticism on that.
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, sure. If you want to use your calc, it's fine. But you and Seth called me a moron in your video. You were saying
that was for something different, actually. That was for something different. I didn't say you were a moron either. I said that you were either being dishonest or you were a moron.
Also, when I spoke with Seth, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, "No, the calc is definite." He all right. Well, I don't want to say this because I don't remember exactly what it was. Seth can say that this isn't the case if this isn't exactly how it went.
Well, Seth isn't me, for the record. If he said that...
No, I get it. But the reason I made my video... A lot of my video was because of the things that have been going on with Seth and whatnot.
Yeah.
And when Seth was talking to me, he treated this like it was a lot more definite than you are. And based on, what I'm taking away...
Well, I still think it's pretty definite, right? I think I'm right. I'm definite on that, in that regard.
Okay, are you saying that, it is... That you can say without a doubt that you are right and I am wrong here?
Yes, because I have preponderance of evidence in that regard.
Well,
okay.
I think it's weak. I think it's a weak claim, though, still, because...
It doesn't matter.
That Naruto was compared to Minato.
It doesn't matter how weak the claim is, it's infinitely better than the other side.
I guess.
Okay. So in that sense, I am definite about it, and it's a way to quantify this scene in a way that didn't exist otherwise. So I quite like it.
Well, so are you saying that because Naruto was compared to Minato, that the Raikage only moved 5 centimeters and not?
Well, there is some unknown distance he moved beyond that, most likely, right? But we don't know what that is.
Is definite. Right.
No, the calculation is just a value that would have some sigma and variation, right? That I don't know.
What I was saying was that Seth was like, "Oh no, it's pretty. You can't really say that it didn't happen just because of X, Y, or Z. When if there's any amount, if the distance is any different than you said it was in the calc, then."
Well, it would obviously vary, yeah. But I mean, again, that's the case. That's the case with any calc or any measurement, right? There's always some variation.
What I'm saying is, even if the distance is just 1 meter, right, then Naruto is significantly.
It wouldn't. It's nowhere close to a meter. It was some minuscule distance I couldn't even measure in the video with Minato because it was too fuzzy.
Sure, but that's Minato, and Naruto isn't Minato.
Okay, again,
he was compared to Minato doesn't mean
you're backtracking to an earlier point in the argument. Okay, I already explained to you how the preponderance of evidence benefits me here, in that the narrative analogy I'm making is valid, and there's nothing to suggest that the other side is valid.
Well, I didn't. I said that I agreed with you that the scene is analogous to the scene with Minato.
Yes.
I didn't say that I agreed with you that it means that Naruto and Minato's stats...
I know, but I did say that I have preponderance of evidence and etc., and you never debunked that. So you're just repeating yourself again when I've repeatedly, responded to this position.
So,
okay, if you're
evidence isn't a term that I'm familiar with.
Okay,
but based on how you're saying that because of the Minato comparison, the claim that you're making has a greater value, or it's.
I can explain it to you if you're confused. Sure, that's okay.
Yeah, go for
I don't mind. So preponderance just means has the most of, and evidence is evidence, right? So we would just say that the side that has the most evidence, it is still evidence. The side that has the most evidence is more likely to be correct. It's an abductive claim.
If I can make a claim, if I can make a claim that the evidence or the comparison is irrelevant and that it's not worth using to measure Naruto's speed here, and you can't say that that claim is invalid, then you can't.
We'll talk about interpretation then, shall we? Narrative interpretation, because that's where you're going now. Because you're trying to say that you've presented an alternative narrative interpretation to me. Yeah?
Well, not really, just that I'm not convinced by what you're saying.
Well, you did present an alternative narrative explanation. You were like, they're just saying he's like Minato because of the glow or whatever, right? Because he's fast.
Not just because of the glow. There are a lot of similarities between
okay, well, regardless...
Doesn't necessarily mean that he's the same species.
You gave the argument earlier, so I'm aware of what you were trying to say, right?
Sure.
Why is your narrative explanation better than mine?
Well, I didn't say that it was necessarily better. I just don't agree.
I would say they're equal. I would actually say that they can both exist at the same time without contradicting each other.
What that they mean Naruto?
That they can be comparing Minato in that way, and also in the way I'm trying to say they're comparing him.
Okay, so here's then.
Well, actually, no. This is going to be a big.
No. Here, let me make a claim, an analogous claim. Sasuke, heavy Sasuke, has similar ocular prowess to Madara because Kurama compared Sasuke's eyes to Madara. And before he awakens his muscle, EMS, Rinnegan, or anything, I could claim that Sasuke has, perfect Susanoo or whatever. He just doesn't use it because Kurama compared him to Madara. Obviously, that's not the case.
Okay, can I respond to that quickly?
Sure, yeah, go for it.
So, I would actually say that interpretation would be totally valid if there wasn't a bunch of contradictory things going on here, right? So, for instance, as one example, I could bring up the databook statement that says that only Madara Uchiha could control the Nine-Tails chakra, right, for instance. Or, later on, we're shown, Obito and Madara blatantly have better dojutsu than Sasuke does, for instance. Yeah. So that's contradicted, and that's why that's wrong. What I'm saying is that what I've presented isn't actually contradicted.
What, the Naruto and,
The Naruto and Minato speed comparison. Having an alternative narrative explanation you're actually demonstrating mine is wrong, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, sure, but I don't feel like I need to in order to, I just...
Well, look, okay, I've explained several times why you do need to.
I don't feel... I guess we're splitting a hair over... fuck, my bad. Sorry, I'm tired.
Okay.
I guess we're splitting a hair over this because I don't feel like it's important. Well, because I thought that we were calling to talk about the fact that I don't agree that Naruto is specifically 72 times faster than the Raikage.
Well, my problem isn't that you
make a claim that's that precise. You need a case stronger than, well, they said he's like Minato. So the Raikage only moved as far as he did after he punched Minato. And there are a whole lot of other variables that you could bring up. Like, maybe the Raikage got stronger since then. Maybe the Raikage wasn't using his absolute maximum power versus Minato.
Hold on.
He was against Naruto.
No, he for one thing, he does actually say he was going all out against Minato. He says that you're the second person to dodge my fastest attack or whatever.
Sure.
So he definitely was going all out against Minato.
No, you're right. You're right about
Raikage being faster doesn't matter because I'm comparing the scenes. I'm not saying that Raikage isn't faster or whatever. He could be faster. It's just that I'm comparing the scenes on a narrative basis. And as for the thing that you said about, I'm concerned about it being exactly 73 times or whatever, I don't have an issue with that. It's not what you said. You said that the calculation, the problem I have is that you were trying to say my calculation was invalid, or that the axioms that I said didn't stand.
I was trying to,
and you did that in an incredibly flawed way.
What I was trying to say is that it's fine to disregard.
It's not fine to disregard it, though. You haven't presented any way to actually disregard it.
Well, I mean, I did.
No, you didn't. All you did was present an alternative explanation for the narrative that it doesn't conflict with mine at all.
You haven't really proven I don't know. I guess you haven't really made any a better case than I have. You've just said, well,
it doesn't matter whether if the side is my interpretation or the way that I calculated the feat is correct, and the other side is that it's not correct, then I absolutely have presented a better side than you. Again, as I said earlier, I've presented an infinitely better side than you.
Can you repeat what you just said to those reading the page?
Okay, I said that if the position we're taking here is that my argument is that the way I did the calc is accurate, and if your position is the way that you did the calc is inaccurate, I absolutely think my argument is 100% better than yours.
Principle. I guess, yeah, sure. I can't debate you on whether you did your math better than me, because
it's not just about the math, the way I went about the calc in general.
Well, you didn't account for the distance between Naruto and the wall.
And I've given an extremely in-depth and valid explanation for why I did that.
No, we don't know what the distance is.
Correct.
There's no way to know.
No, that's not true, that there's no way to know. I already presented an argument for how I would determine that you haven't counted.
What, the Minato one?
Yes.
But these are two completely different fights under different circumstances.
Okay, that's
a greater distance.
Are you now pretending? Like, I don't get what this. You keep like reaching really hard for arguments. Okay, it's pretty clear that these are.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that it's outrageous to claim that he moved the exact same distance.
I'm not saying he moved the exact same distance. I'm saying it's analogous.
So that they moved like a similar distance.
Yes.
I guess. And you're dealing with centimeters in your calc. So like, I feel like them moving a similar distance.
There's actually the calc. Okay.
You've
Hold on.
interrupted me so many.
Sorry, I just wanted. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to make it clear or whatever. You know. The calc. Okay. For the reason why that's not a big deal is because in the calc itself is actually lowballed. Because all I did is measure the distance to the Raikage's back, okay, and Naruto's actually standing on the other side of the Raikage. So that is a and there's tons of stuff like that in calcs, right? I'm basically lowballing it,
yeah.
But that more or less accounts for whatever distance Raikage moved.
Okay, yeah, sure, that's fair. But
I also didn't calculate it from the front of Naruto. I calculated it from the back of Naruto too.
It could also mean like a lot of things. Though. Again, it could be centimeters as far as wiggle room is concerned. It could be meters as far as wiggle room is concerned. But like, again, we don't know.
Again, the width of Naruto should be.
A statement that Naruto is like Minato is not evidence that.
I think you're kind of downplaying it. You're kind of misrepresenting my argument. I'm not just saying that, it was said that Naruto was like Minato, okay? There's a direct setup for the scene where we see... The scene actually gets interrupted to show us exactly what Minato does with the Raikage, and then right after that, Naruto does exactly the same thing, and on multiple occasions, he is directly compared to Minato doing the same thing.
Let me get the chapter out.
I actually have that open right now.
Yeah, sure. I know it's volume 57.
It's chapter 543, 544.
Okay. Yeah. I remember. So let's see how close, because I'm pretty sure the Minato thing is within a couple pages.
Yeah, I think it's in the previous chapter, but it's basically right there.
So let's read through the entire thing together.
I think it's actually 542 when Minato first turns up in the flashback.
Yeah. Well, so it's not really that similar, like right from the get-go, because the Raikage is attacking Minato from behind. I guess that's a minor difference, but I wouldn't call it like...
What do you mean he's attacking him from behind?
When Minato dodges the attack, the Raikage is approaching Minato from behind.
Well, Minato turns around to face him, but yeah.
Yeah, but you don't see his face like right away from...
Well, Naruto does the same thing. Yeah, we do. Hold on, I'll show you.
What page number?
I'll just send you the actual page.
Sure.
That way it'll be in the recording as well. It's a very, very, very similar panel. It's nearly shot for shot, actually.
Yeah, no, you're right. Which chapter is that in? Because I don't see it.
Sorry, it's 542.
Oh, okay.
I think I gave you the wrong... I said 543, 544. So that's my bad. Oh, and in this scan, Raikage says he outdid my top speed also. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
But
so you think my calc is fair now, at least?
Well, I mean, yeah, sure, but I also think it's still fair to disregard it if you're not convinced by it. And also, you didn't say...
You understand that you disregarding it would be baseless, then?
Well, it's not baseless if I don't agree with the...
It is baseless because you don't actually have an argument. Okay, look, you can hold on.
Possibility that the Raikage got stronger or faster.
You can disregard anything you want, right? Like, I can disregard causality if I like, but it would be like, just because you can disregard it doesn't give that validity, okay?
You haven't made, like, a concrete case for it. You've just said they were...
It doesn't have to be concrete. It just has to be better than all other cases, which it is. Does that make sense to you? Like, I'm trying to keep my opinion out of it, if anything.
You don't, like...
I feel like this isn't that hard of a thing for you to accept.
I'm not much of a scientist, but I know a basic scientific principle, right? As that you don't just accept what sounds the best if you're not fully convinced that it's correct.
Hold on.
Right away.
That's actually not true at all. Nearly everything in science is on some level an assumption. That's why there's this thing called
I know that you make assumptions.
Hold on.
But you can't just say, well, if we're not accounting for this, this, and this, and we're just using this very loose premise as the entire basis for our hypothesis.
It's not like that, though.
Hypothesis should, everybody should accept it, and it's not fair to disregard it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Here, let me give an analogy. Well, firstly, this is an abductive argument, so you're trying to appeal to deduction, which I'll explain in a minute, but I'll give you a scientific analogy, all right? Let's say there are some scientists out in the field, and they are recording like atmospheric differences at a volcano, right? And they're like, okay, well, our machines aren't exact. There's this tiny little area, like the distance between the wall and the Raikage, that we don't know, okay? And Naruto and the Raikage and whatnot, okay? So there's this variance in our machines. So instead, when we measure our data, we'll give it a sigma value to suggest how accurate it actually is, right? So that's the case for everything in science, because there's no perfect measurement of anything. So it's the same as that. It's actually very similar to what we would do in the field if we were measuring something with science.
Okay.
As for what I just said about deductive versus abductive, sorry, go ahead.
Where's the analogy like with that to this? Because like the only claim you've made in support of anything you've said is that, like, again, because he was compared by the story and by the characters, that he's...
The slight variation in the machine, right, recording the atmospheric data, that it isn't completely precise, is the same as the unknown distance between the Raikage and Naruto. Mine is actually better than the machine I'm giving you. Because I have a reason to suggest it's a certain value.
So let's say that they're trying to compare, like, some atmospheric phenomena with something that happened earlier, right? Like we are with Minato.
Sure, like geologically in the past or something, yeah.
Yeah, so if somebody who wasn't... let's assume, right, if it's not Tsunade, then we can talk about this later, but let's assume for the sake of this analogy that it is Tsunade who's thinking this. Mm-hmm. Somebody who doesn't really have... Who doesn't have the information on hand necessary to make a statement about it says, oh, this is just like that thing that you guys are comparing it to from the past. But this person doesn't really know what they're talking about because, like we said, Tsunade wasn't there. She didn't see him dodge the Raikage's max speed attack. You wouldn't then go say, well, okay, this is better than nothing because this person said, like,
You absolutely would, actually.
Well, here's another thing that I want to say. Well, okay, actually, I don't want to shotgun you, so you can go ahead, and then I'll say.
Okay, so here, I'll expand the analogy, and we'll say that the atmospheric readings, they're trying to gather an explanation of what they're trying to give an explanation for what the atmosphere might have been like in the Paleozoic era, right? And let's say that when they measure certain atmospheric readings, they notice things about the plant life. Like, for instance, when there's more oxygen content, the plants get bigger, right, for instance. It would be fair then to say, well, we know the Paleozoic era has more oxygen, therefore the plants should be more green. They don't actually know that, right? It's abductive. It's the same idea, right? They just have a preponderance of evidence to suggest that would be the case.
But they don't know anywhere close to how much more green, and this would be more like if somebody...
Actually, they would. They would know.
Well, no, but I'm saying we don't, right? Like, if we're
we do.
Completely analogous here, we don't really know exactly how much, and it would be less like a machine of theirs telling them this, and more like somebody saying, yeah, dude,
No, it's not like some guy. No, don't turn it into like just some guy making a statement. That's not true. I am using
it's really
a mathematical formula to explain it. It's not just like...
The other thing is, we sort of agreed that for Naruto to be this much faster than the Raikage, then B also has to be significantly faster than the Raikage. But B is clearly surprised right after.
This is a different argument now, because I just want to make it clear, because that's arguing the calc is an outlier.
I'm providing my own.
Well, okay, that would be an argument that the calc is an outlier. I'm just saying with the axioms I've set, right, the calc is fine. It's not wrong, per se.
Why would what I'm saying about what B said make it out?
Because, as in, you're trying to say that B should be similar in speed to Naruto, right? And so Naruto being that much faster than the Raikage would be unreasonable? So you're saying it'd be an outlier or inconsistent?
What I'm saying is B was clearly surprised that Naruto moved faster than the Raikage, right?
Yeah.
So the yellow flash comparisons, B saying that Naruto was like Minato earlier doesn't really mean anything, because it's if you take what he just thought there into account, that it doesn't mean that he thought Naruto was anywhere near as fast as Minato yet, because what he was like, okay, so Naruto's getting close to the same league of speed or power as Minato, but later, like right after Naruto dodges this attack, B said, the outhand bro, wow, he's surprised by it.
Yeah, that's the argument I would present for that, is that the Raikage is actually faster than he used to be when he was a Jonin. Then
that means that the comparison to Minato is even weaker then.
No, it's a shot-for-shot narrative comparison.
Well, yeah, sure.
It doesn't make it any weaker.
What do you mean, Naruto? Well, no, sure, it doesn't make Naruto any weaker.
No, it doesn't make my argument any weaker to say that the Raikage got faster, and I explained this to you already, and you didn't say anything about it.
But if you're saying that the Raikage got faster... Okay.
You're kind of wasting my time, I'm sorry, it's just frustrating, because I already...
Yeah, sure, let's fucking move on, to the next thing.
Okay, I already presented my argument for that, and you didn't have a debunk, and now you're trying to bring it up again.
What do you mean? Your argument?
I already explained why it wouldn't matter if the Raikage got faster. Do you not remember when I did that?
No, what did you say?
Oh my god, okay. I said that it doesn't matter if the Raikage gets faster because I'm making a narrative comparison between the two scenes. I'm not saying, as in, Naruto is doing a similar thing to the Raikage now that Minato did to the Raikage then. Him getting faster doesn't change anything about my argument.
Speed to Minato, sure, that still holds up, but it means that Naruto...
No, it's, again, you keep misinterpreting me. I'm not saying that I'm using these statements to say that Naruto is as fast as Minato. I'm saying that shot for shot, the scene is supposed to be a recreation of the previous scene. So if the Raikage is faster, that doesn't change that argument.
Right, but...
I'm not saying Naruto is Minato speed. I've been very clear about this multiple times. I even said he's probably faster than Minato.
How does this reinforce the validity... the validity of the calc?
Okay, it doesn't what I just said just then doesn't reinforce the validity of the calc. What I was doing is demonstrating why it doesn't matter if the Raikage is faster. Does that make sense?
We were talking about...
Do you want me to repeat my justification for the calc again for the 8th time? Do I have to do that for you?
You said that the calc doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about now, and I thought that we were talking about the calc, and I was providing...
No, I thought you were going to... Maybe I got it wrong. I thought you were going to try and say it was an outlier by saying B should be similar in speed to KCM. We can talk about that later. That was what you said in the video, so...
I said even if... But I already disagree. I was saying even if you agree with the calc, it's still a massive outlier. What I was trying to say was that if the Raikage got faster, then that means the Minato comparison, right? If that's your basis for him being in the realm of 73 times faster than the Raikage, that means that if your Minato comparison is, the only gauge you have, for how far he moved, past Minato after Minato dodge the attack, then that would mean that, well, yeah, sure, he only moved a little bit here, but he would have moved further in this scene if he got faster, which would therefore make Naruto slower in comparison to...
No, that is not how that works at all. Okay. Let's just... I'll say here, my reason for saying the Raikage is faster now is because there are a couple statements, both in the databook and in the series, where they say Raikage is as fast as Minato now, right? And I interpret that to mean he's gotten that fast over time. So let's just assume that's valid for the sake of argument, right? So now Raikage is Minato speed in this scene. That what I'm saying is that this is a shot-for-shot narrative comparison. I'm not saying Naruto is Minato speed. I'm actually saying he's faster than Minato.
Yeah, I know you're saying that he's...
Okay, so it doesn't matter if Raikage is now Minato speed. Naruto is still doing the same thing to the Raikage that Minato did to Raikage in the past when Raikage was slower.
Well, yeah, sure, but...
And that would explain why B is so surprised.
The quantifiable, like fucking, like... The distance that the Raikage traveled could be different here than the distance that he traveled versus Minato.
All you're doing is presenting skepticism again. I've given a reason to suggest that that wouldn't be the case, and you haven't debunked that.
Skeptical, but it's just a...
Okay, you could be an animatronic walrus designed only to annoy me, right? I can't confirm that you're not that. Does that mean you are an animatronic walrus that's designed to annoy me?
No, but if...
Okay, then you can't just say that there's a different interpretation.
Let me finish. If I just say, well, somebody said that I'm not, that wouldn't really be a good point.
It's not what I'm saying, though.
Okay.
That's not analogous to what I'm saying at all. I'm making a narrative comparison between the two.
There is an analogy to make here, but I don't know. So like the fucking walrus thing is like easily disprovable, right? Because what do you mean?
Well, it wouldn't be in this situation, right? I'm just giving an example of I could be skeptical of something, right? I could be skeptical that you even are a human being, but that doesn't matter. My skepticism isn't worth anything inside of an actual debate.
Well, sure, right, but...
And you are debating me right now.
No, I get it. Well, I came into this under the impression that we were going to try and see whether the calc was valid or not. Convinces...
Yeah, and I asked you to debate me on Twitter, and then you said that you would, so this is a debate.
No, I get... Okay. I guess we're taking different approaches to this, but just because, like, you yourself said that it's kind of an infallible claim that you interpret this way.
No, I did. I specifically said the opposite, that it's not infallible.
Yeah, sure, you don't know any debunks, right?
Yeah.
But it might not be impossible to debunk.
Yeah, I don't think it is impossible to debunk, I just haven't seen any.
Sure. But...
I'm not trying to make an unfalsifiable claim.
A more convincing argument than Tsunade said he's like the Yellow Flash. You see Minato dodge the attack in a flashback, so it's the same thing.
Okay. I'm just going to say right now, I do not care to convince you one way or the other. I don't care about convincing you in any way, shape, or form. What you're trying to do right now is present reasons in a debate format for why I would be wrong. If you just asking me for more evidence or whatever, or saying you're not convinced, it means absolutely nothing. Doesn't say you're more right. I would still be 100% right. That's not a debunk, okay? If you want to go away from this and be like, okay, I'm still skeptical of it, I don't believe it, whatever, who cares? You weren't able to debunk me.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but you weren't able to debunk me, and I'm right.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I wouldn't say you're right. But...
I am right. You have been unable to defeat me in the gauntlet of debate, so that would make me right.
I mean, yeah, okay, sure.
Okay.
Let's go to the next shit, yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry about getting antsy, but, I've just had to repeat myself a lot.
I mean, yeah, no, I get it.
I'm just going to explain the thing I said about angiocizing too, and this is tangential, but... just so that you know, whatever, in case you decide to do something like this in the future. The reason the distance you measured, the reason I said it wasn't an actual distance you're measuring in that first scan I sent, is because of the angle of the shot. So the angle...
I know. The angle makes it, like, fucking hard,
completely different. Yeah. Like, if I hold up a piece of paper to my face on the flat side, it looks giant in the distance, right? Like,
no, I get what you mean.
Yeah, so that's why that's not accurate. Okay. So I suppose that's everything about the calc. Is there something else you want to talk about?
So, I guess just the other things you said in the video. Like, you said that, so you said that what I said about the Itachi Shuriken thing was outrageous. Because that would mean, like, Anoki was kitchen knife level or whatever. But you guys completely ignored that I said it to present to like, outline...
Because you were comparing it to the Ten Tails Cataclysm.
Yeah, the Ten Tails thing. And it's a bit ridiculous to say Itachi has 10 Tails level durability when Sasuke Shuriken pierced his skin.
I'll elaborate on that then. Okay. So the reason that I said that was outrageous, and I said Inoki's kitchen knife level, is because of course chakra can be put into attacks, right? Like punches I know. Sorry, I'm just making everything clear. Because it's possible to do that. A character that was 10 tails level would be able to throw a kunai that powerful anyway. So trying to use that.
Sasuke wasn't.
Well, that was Sikitachi. That was Sikitachi.
You can't prove that being sick made his skinless.
Yeah, it would actually. I can prove that actually, because he would have less chakra, because chakra is a function of stamina and spiritual energy. So his stamina would be less if he's sick, so he'd have less chakra, less ability to protect himself from chakra-based attacks. I can show you scans for that if you want.
Sure, but you can't quantify the difference, right?
I would just say that Sikitachi doesn't scale to Edo Itachi at all, right? They're just different.
Yeah, sure, but again, you can't quantify the difference, so it's impossible to say how, because, like, what I was trying to say...
being unable to...
Okay, even if the sickness cut his chakra pool by 10 times, which I think is a bit... which I don't agree with, I think that's a bit much to say. But even if you assume that it cut his chakra pool by 10 times, right? Sasuke being able to damage him with his shuriken would still put him way below 10 tails level durability, right?
Okay, hold on. Let me just be clear and say I don't necessarily think Itachi has 10 tails level durability, okay? I'll say that right now. But hold on.
Was outrageous.
Yeah, because your debunk isn't valid, and I'll explain why. So you're saying that this difference is unquantifiable. It's not actually necessarily unquantifiable. The way that we would quantify it is we would look at the difference between sick Itachi and healthy Itachi or Edo Itachi, right? And we would say, hey,
you can't. You
can? No, you can. I'll explain how right now.
The only healthy Itachi is Edo Itachi, who has infinite regen zombie powers.
Well, okay, but
chakra.
He would still have durability, right?
No, but he.
Okay, hold on. I'm just saying that the reason I'm going to just only attack the reason why bringing up kunai and shuriken isn't valid, and being hurt by kunai and shuriken isn't valid. Okay, so if we say that there was a hypothetical not Edo healthy Itachi, right, and he tanked the Ten Tails Cataclysm directly on his face, he was like, I have a Mangekyo Sharingan, Ten Tails, you can't defeat me, whatever dumb shit he says, right? That we would then be able to use that to quantify the difference between how strong he is when he's sick and how strong he is when he's alive, because like you said, it's unquantifiable. So there would actually be, you wouldn't be able to compare it to the Sasuke thing and say it's wrong because of this.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't tank the 10 tails.
I know, I'm not saying he's actually 10 tails level, okay? I agree that might be a bit of a stretch. I don't know, maybe you could make an argument for it, but your debunk wasn't a valid debunk for it.
I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was a quick and easy way to say it.
Nah, it needed to be addressed to... People were really mad about it, actually. They DM'd me and were like, I hated it.
It's like, hey, dude, Madara is sword level. But also ignoring the fact that that's the sort of Kusanagi that can cut through anything.
It is, yes.
So
it's in the Daya book as well.
Yeah. So it's not the same thing.
No, of course not. But that's just an analogy to explain why that would be ridiculous, right?
The other thing is we've also seen Sasuke like channel chakra through his shit, and it's always very clear when he's doing it.
It's clear when he's using lightning release, sure.
Yeah. And well, no, we've also seen people channel their chakra through strings and stuff, and there's always like a blue outliner.
Sometimes there is, but chakra is supposed to be invisible, so I'm not going to say, like, just because we didn't see chakra, it wasn't happening.
What I'm saying is that you could very easily argue that because we didn't see it, and we've seen it plenty of times.
Well, when Itachi actually uses his shuriken attacks or whatever, he does actually put fire style on them to attack B.
Right, yeah, you can see the fire style.
But, but it would be, like, we see characters put chakra into things all the time, and it doesn't show up, like, when they're standing on water or whatever, or when they're running around.
You see their feet, like, glowing for a while. Right.
Well, in some scenes it's portrayed that way, but sometimes there's just nothing and they're just standing there, right? Or when they're running, they're obviously using chakra to run that fast, but we don't see it.
Yeah, sure, I guess so. I don't really think that Sasuke just threw raw, like, no chakra buff shuriken, but...
He definitely, I mean, that's Sikitachi anyway. I agree Sikitachi's fodder, like, whatever, he's trash.
The thing I wanted to say is that you guys said in the video that the Itachi I was talking about had infinite Mangekyo Sharingan, and that's not what I said. I was saying he wasn't big, and his Mangekyo Sharingan wasn't degraded to the same extent.
Well, all I said was that it was a hypothetical where he wasn't going to go blind instantly and he wasn't sick or whatever.
He could still very easily go blind because like Sasuke.
Well, if he used it a bunch, sure, yeah.
Like he would have to, like Sasuke did, right?
I don't think he would have to. I mean, Sasuke is way weaker than Edo Itachi.
Yeah.
Again, Sekitachi getting his ass beaten by the Raikage, hell yeah, why the fuck not, right?
Yeah, sure.
But Edo Itachi, no, he has way better stuff than that. I definitely disagree on that point.
Well, that's, I guess, all I really wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I think this is what Seth meant when I was like, I guess we have to agree to disagree, because, like, I know, well, like, my concession earlier was a bit like, yeah, sure, whatever, I guess, because I don't really care. Like, if you want to be like, yeah, sure, man, I got Swag Nicole, and I debated him, and I won, like, whatever, I guess, but, I feel like the point of this was to try and see whether you could convince me and the people that agree with me whether or not the council...
No, I don't care about that at all. The problem I was having is people were coming to me with your arguments that are wrong and saying I was wrong because of that. So I wanted to make it clear by debating you and showing that you don't actually have a counter-argument.
Well, that's not true. I feel like I do.
It is true. I was pretty clear throughout as to why you didn't have a counter-argument.
Well, so... what were you saying earlier about the fucking, like, even though we don't know for sure whether or not Naruto is exactly 72.99 whatever decimals following, we can still use it as a number and apply it there,
yeah.
Right? Like, so, what
it's a variable.
Yeah, sure. Well, so, there's also nothing in the panel that implies... or nothing on the page.
Would you be happier if I added a range that the Raikage could have moved to the Kelk and use that as a range?
Then I would be like, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
But that's essentially you can view it in this way. That's essentially what I've done. Okay, let's say I just took the highball for that value and said it was 0 or whatever, right? That would be one end of the range, and the other end of the range would be like a fucking meter or whatever, right? And so in that sense, it is just part of a variable, right? I just didn't do that for that particular calc.
2 to a fucking billion. That's all I'm saying is that it's...
Well, it couldn't be a billion, but it would be a reasonable range. Yeah.
Hyperbolic, but yeah, sure. What I'm saying is that there is a massive range, and there's also...
It could even be a negative number.
Explicitly implies that Naruto has moved further towards the wall. Naruto could still be away from the wall.
Well, okay.
He could be moving...
I know, but I presented that argument already. The distance could actually be a negative distance as well. If the distance that the Raikage moved...
That's all I was trying to say.
My 0 lies within that range.
And you also can't say that... Well, so you can say my numbers aren't valid because I didn't take angles into account. But, if I were to say that, well, it looks like 3 meters to me, and you couldn't be like, well, and you were just like, well, I'm not convinced. You couldn't be like, well, I mean, based on what you said earlier, right? Like, you have preponderance of evidence about the Minato thing.
Well, the Minato thing is the counter-argument I would present, right? I wouldn't just say I'm skeptical that it's 3 meters. Like, I'm not... The range I use wouldn't just be random. I would find some way to quantify a range.
Yeah.
I would be... I just feel like the 0 I gave is in the middle of that range anyway. So it's totally a valid way to do that.
Okay. I don't really have anything else to say about this.
Okay,
I guess we're done.
I'm going to conclude the recording here then. This is the end of the debate.